Makakuvu Ali El Bey, liwebtv.com, 110 channel internet television network. And this is our business forum talk show, and I have a very distinguished and special guest and friend, Miss Judy, Dr. Judy Kronin. And I'm holding her book, Creating Smart Schools. And this is a very important work that she has developed that she's going to talk to us about. And might I also add that we are here at the Riverhead Historical Society, where Dr. Kronin has an exhibit of African American dolls, one of the first types of exhibits here. And she will also be sharing with us those stories around her collection of dolls. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you also.
And it's great to be with you after so many years of knowing each other. Tell us about your consulting business and the name.
Okay. It's the E.J. Kronin Consulting Educational Consulting Incorporation. And we do a number of things. Mainly, our objective is to improve the quality of instruction in classrooms across the country. And what we do, our main focus, is to make sure that students understand and teachers understand the importance of becoming critical thinkers and independent learners. And what I do is about 4 or 5 years ago, I developed a model, the Education Instructional Coaching Model, and right now I'm implementing that model in schools across the country. And right now we're focusing our attention at a school in Old Westbury called Whispering Pine School, and it's quite exciting to implement the model. And the model basically has 2 components. It has a education component, which consists of reform strategies, and a coaching component. And it's nothing new. Each component is based on very, very important research. It's research-based. And basically, we try to make sure kids enjoy education and teachers have a good time learning. And the reform strategies include Socratic questioning, formative assessment, accountable talk, learning stations, and also differentiated instruction. And there's a coaching component which we make sure we include so that the model is sustainable. So when we leave, it continues. And basically, it's just important. It's something that can be used in an educational setting and in a business setting.
So you actually coach the teachers?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what is the receptivity of the students involved that participate in the learning process of your strategy?
It's very 21st century. It's just really hands-on learning, and it also involves a cooperative model where we teach students how to become student leaders. One of the most important components is the cooperative learning model, where we encourage teachers to give students tasks where they respond to as a collective group. And it teaches them to problem solve, it teaches them to listen, it teaches them to write, and it teaches them to present in front of their peers.
Now this book, Creating Smart Schools, does that provide the foundation for the consulting strategy that you're speaking about now?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how it got started. I'm a retired superintendent, and prior to becoming a superintendent, I was a principal in Mount Vernon.
Excuse me for a moment.
Sure.
Let me be fair to my viewing audience, because she's explaining how it got started, but it got started back in 1971 when she and I were working for a gentleman named Dick Robinson at Wine Edge Cooperative College Center.
So true.
And Dick Robinson used to always say, we have to teach our young people how to think. So when you heard her say critical thinking, she was talking from a distance 40 some odd years ago and bringing it forward, fast forwarding this is the fruit of that effort now. I'm sorry,
Absolutely.
I had to add that.
You absolutely had to, and thank you. But way back in the day when I was principal, I was always passionate about making sure every kid received a quality education. And I was really curious, how do you go about doing that? And I retired and I was asked to go to Orange, New Jersey. And eventually I became a principal. And while becoming a principal, what happened is I was asked to work at a school that no one wanted to be at, Orange Middle School. And what I heard about this school was that I would never ever send my kid there. I said, that's exactly where I need to be. And I went over there, and what I found out is that it wasn't a student problem, it wasn't a teacher problem, it was a leadership problem. And within a year and a half, the staff and I turned the school around, and what we did is we really changed the climate. And once we changed the climate, we said it's not enough to have a climate that looks good. We want to make sure that our students are getting quality instruction. And we visited classrooms, and we were looking at what works and what doesn't work. And we found out these strategies: accountable talk, Socratic questioning, cooperative learning groups, Socratic seminar, learning stations. These were the strategies that worked. And I promised these teachers that if they implemented these strategies, I would not ask them to go above and beyond that.
When you say Socratic questioning,
Yes.
what does that mean?
Socratic questioning means getting a person to answer their own question. You never answer the question, you lead them through questioning, a questioning strategy, a process. You ask why, or what do you think about that? Do you agree?
So it's actually a realization process.
Yes,
They realize that within the questioning, they have the answer.
They have the answer themselves. Yes, absolutely. And what happened was we implemented these strategies, and within, I would say 8 months, we were being looked at by No Child Left Behind. And what they said to us is that we had improved the rate of academic achievement so drastically. They wanted to know what we had done to do this. And we just simply explained these strategies, and we were awarded $100,000. And right then and there, I knew we were onto something. And they quickly promoted me from principal to interim superintendent, and I enjoyed the position. But what I enjoyed, far more important than being their interim superintendent, was writing this book so that I could share it with everyone, because the importance of this model, the education instructional coaching model, is that it works in any setting. It doesn't matter whether it's an urban setting, whether it's a rural setting or a suburban setting. It doesn't matter whether the kids are functioning at a very high level or a very low level. It takes students from where they are to a higher level.
So the integral part of this strategy is based upon getting young people to realize the extent to which they are capable of thinking.
Yes, and it's also looking at the everyday process, breaking down the everyday process of teachers designing lessons. For example, very, very simple. It's just the idea that when you teach, you want to make sure that you start off with a do now, or sometimes teachers call it an appetizer. What did the students learn what they were supposed to learn yesterday? And you spend 5 minutes, a quiz, and you put a problem on the board. Every student should be able to resolve that problem. And you encourage them to give you the answer through Socratic questioning. The next phase is the new instruction, the objectives, and you do that through accountable talk. You sit down and you have a conversation with the students about the objectives that you're planning on teaching. And again, you use Socratic questioning, and you also use formative assessment. It's up to the teacher to make sure everyone in his or her class understands the new objectives.
So this can bring out the genius in everyone.
Absolutely. And then the reinforcement activity, you use the cooperative learning model. You get the students to work in about 5 cooperative learning groups, and the teacher designs a task, and you give them 10 minutes of uninterrupted time. And at the end of 10 minutes, meanwhile, the cooperative learning group is designed so that there is a student leader, a student recorder, a student presenter, and a timekeeper. And you cannot talk to the timekeeper, you cannot talk to the recorder, you cannot talk to the presenter. If there's something going on that you feel is a problem with that group, you speak to the student leader. It's up to him or her to resolve, to make sure those students get on task. What motivates them is that it's competitive. They have a name, they get points for performing.
I see. Excuse me. So, with that in place, everyone who is concerned about educating their children and having their children develop their own strength in thinking should get this book. It's called Creating Smart Schools by Dr. Judith Kronin, a great friend, educator, and mentor, if you will, from way back, and a collector of antique dolls, and that's where we're going now, so she can talk to you about her collection. I'm Makakuvu Ali El Bey. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
My name is Kathy Curran. I'm the director of the Suffolk County Historical Society here in Riverhead. This is Black History Month. We invited Dr. Judith Kronin to display her fantastic African American doll collection. It's a first for the Historical Society, and we did it in conjunction with the Riverhead Library. So the 250 dolls you see here from Judith's collection are also supplemented by the exact same number over more contemporary dolls. The dolls we chose are more in a historic line to go along with the Historical Society. But it's a great pleasure, a really great pleasure to have Dr. Kronin here to talk about her dolls.
Thank you so much, Kathy. It certainly is a pleasure to be able to talk about my dolls. And I just want to start with this first case. And what we have here are an interesting collection. This was kind of put together to show the shades of African American people. We come in all different kinds of shades. And also points out some very, very interesting artists. The first artist that I'm going to talk about is Gloria Tepper. And Gloria Tepper made a very interesting doll. Her name is Bit, and she's one of a kind. And just an absolute breathtaking doll. When you look at her, she becomes a favorite. Every time I talk about the dolls, everyone leaves with talking about her. The next artist I'd like to talk about is Annette Hempstead. Annette Hempstead is one of the foremost great doll collectors, and if you want to see any doll designer, you want to look at Annette, and you want to look at the eyes of the dolls. This happens to be 2 of her dolls from the Barefoot collection, and what happened is Annette was traveling in the South and came across these 2 lovely children and actually had to make them as part of a series. This other doll over here is a replica of a doll made in the Victorian period. And it's just very interesting that she's a very, very interesting color, and her hair color, and the complexion of her skin, and her lovely outfit. This is the oldest doll of the collection, and she is a Bis doll, and she is from the 1700s, the late 1700s. This is a very, very interesting doll. Her name is Dulce, and Dulce is a doll that's designed and created by Beatrice Pranini, and she has a partner in another case, but Beatrice is one of the best. I'd like to come over here to this case and talk about an antique doll and also a replica of a doll from the 1920s. And of course, we just mentioned Beatrice Panini. Well, this is the mate, Mealy, to the Beatrice Panini collection. And right here we have a very nice looking doll, and interesting enough, this doll is not, sometimes we get very caught up on porcelain and vinyl. Well, this doll happens to be vinyl, and I just, really want to emphasize we cannot really talk about the value of a doll in terms of the medium that the doll is made of. And some vinyl dolls are just as expensive as porcelain. Over here is a very interesting collection of Madame Alexanders. We tend to think of Madame Alexanders as being little, very petite white dolls, but Madame Alexander has some very, very interesting background and history. Madame Alexander's factory was in Harlem, New York. So very, very exciting for me as a doll collector to have Madame Alexander dolls. And we have some very, very interesting, and one that really strikes an interest for Black History Month would be from the Harlem Boys Choir. And we have and another one that's very, very interesting is a Kwanzaa doll. And what would a collection be without the phenomenal Billie Holiday, played by Diana Ross? So there's a tribute to Billie Holiday in this collection. And one of my favorite designers happens to be Seymour Mann, and Seymour Mann did some baby cake dolls, and they're part of this collection right here. And one of the dolls that we played with in the 40s is in this particular case. And sometimes, you just want to, you see something and you happen to like it, and it's a replica of the past, and that is represented in this particular doll. It's a replica of the past, and this is a very, very interesting doll that, again, replicates the past, and it's a famous doll company, Georgetown. And with all the snow and so forth, we needed a winter bride, so we have a winter bride here. And next to her, we have, again, we're going to go back to Kwanzaa, and this doll her name is Serena, and she represents first fruits. And there was a time when, and we do it a little differently now, but this kind of represents, when we just couldn't take things anymore, and we just put our stuff together in a little sack and went on about our business. We didn't go very far, but that's what this little boy represents, a kid running away from home with his puppy and his pack on his neck. And right here we have, again, this is a doll by Zook, and if you were to hold this doll, it would be very much the same weight as an actual baby. And the texture and everything, the hair texture, the skin, everything is very, very lifelike. And I want to talk a little bit about Aaron. Aaron is by his father, the great Heath Phillips. And Heath is a white designer, and he adopted Aaron. And he decided to pay tribute to Aaron and create a doll just about his son. So that's who Aaron is. And very often when my grandchildren come to my house, they just have conversations with Aaron. So very, very interesting. And I want to go over and talk a little bit about a very, very interesting designer. Her name is Karen Germany, and she created the famous Daddy Longlegs. And often we think of way back in the past that black people were just in slavery. Well, they weren't just in slavery. There were some people that were involved in the gold rush. and we have Ruby Lamore and Swift Boat Bill. Swift Water Bill. And they're just a fine couple, and they happen to represent a period of time during the gold rush, and they happen to have been doing very well. And their outfits really reflect that. And Karen Germany, the designer, she started, a young woman from Texas, she started designing black dolls because she noticed the shortage. So she designed, and as a collector, we thought she was going to go on forever and ever and ever. And in 2000, she stopped. So all of her dolls are retired, and happen to have a number of them in this particular exhibit. And on this side of the case, we have some more. Karen Germany, we have Aunt Hattie, and we have Reverend Wilson. And Reverend Wilson, I mean, she leaves out no detail. He has his Bible, and very, very comfortable sitting on the pew. You know, just really looking over his congregation. So very, very interesting. And if you look at the details, she brings you right back, so you feel as if you're looking at a portrait of black people during a particular period of time. And this is a very, very interesting collection that was put together. It's a combination. We have the famous from Gone with the Wind. Of course, I'm going to go back to her because
Butterfly McQueen.
Butterfly McQueen, thank you so much. The first woman to win an Academy Award. And just really nice to pay tribute and homage to her. And right next to her, we have a doll. And what I wanted to show you is that dolls you collect in many mediums. And this is made out of a brown wooden spoon. And the designer, Babs, she is no longer with us, but I'm very, very proud to have one of her dolls. And this is an interesting doll because although it may look as if it's of a different medium, it's actually fabric. And right next to him, we have a doll designed by the famous Richard Simmons, the exercise guru. And Richard Simmons, his hometown is New Orleans, so he's very much involved with the jazz, and this represents that period. And of course, another doll from Gone with the Wind, Kizzy, and we can't see it, but she has her foot kicked in the air. And behind her is a very, very interesting doll, and this doll happens to be designed by a woman called, her name is Patricia Coleman Cobbs. And she lives in Duluth, Georgia, and she wanted to express the feeling of being, of birth, of having a baby, of having a human being inside one, and she's very, very proud. And this was before the modern women are taking the pictures, exposing their bellies and so forth. This is before that time. She's just doing it out of just this feeling that she has, and Patricia is expressing that. And we really usually don't do a collection without a gollywog, and we have our gollywog here, and we want to embrace the kind of stereotypes that were portrayed about black people. It's part of what happened to us and so forth. So we're not trying to deny it at all. This is the way we were portrayed, and I want to make sure it's part of this. and a very old doll from slavery. And again, you really don't want to do Black History Month without a topsy-turvy. And topsy-turvy is a very interesting kind of doll because there's all kinds of stories that go with this doll. And one is that they made this doll particularly for the children on a plantation, and when she was playing with a slave child, she might turn it one way, and then when others came in to play, she would turn it so it appeared to be a white doll. So that that's where we get that term topsy-turvy. And in the bottom portion of this case, we have a very interesting combination, again by Karen Germany. And we have how could we really talk about Black people without talking about gospel? And we have Sister Carter in the back with her very beautiful choir robe on. And next to her, we have Sister Mary Catherine. And we wanted to, and I guess what Karen Germany wanted to point out is that, you know, religion has no color, and we had very, very proud nuns at that time. And then, of course, the celebration of our country, Uncle Sam. And in this case, we go back again to a historical period when it wasn't necessary for us to distinguish baby males from baby females. We really don't know if this is a male or a female because we all dress them in dresses. And next to her is a very noted designer, Bello, Yolanda Bello, and she did something very interesting. She kind of did a fantasy in terms of the color. The color is not a realistic color. It's something that you kind of know that the doll is meant to be black, but then again you have to look at it twice because it's almost like translucent. And then we have dancers, and we have very, very exquisite dancer, and then we have next to her, I'd like to kind of talk about these two dolls, and one of them is very interesting, a black chatty Kathy, and just very, very interesting, fun doll to play with, talks. And next to her is a doll by a very famous artist, and it's called Puppy Love. And I bought this doll because she looks so much like my daughter. Moving right along, I want to talk a little bit about the top doll, and she is very, it happens to all mothers. We come to a point where our child is not behaving and they have to get time out, and that's exactly what's taking place here. She has not done what she's supposed to do, and she's on time out, and she's a little angry about it. And right here we have Alexis, and she's representing again the Victorian period, and the whole dress and the bows and everything. And the last doll that I'd like to talk about is entitled Jasmine Visits Grandma. And this doll is very, very interesting in the sense that it's very lifelike. If you held this doll, you'd find it have very much the same weight as a baby of about 9 months, 9 months, 10 months, and the texture from the hair to the skin, everything is very, very lifelike, and very, very nice looking doll. And that really concludes the dolls that are at the Suffolk County Historical Society. Oh, and I'd like to kind of talk to you very briefly about another part of my professional life, and that is my online store, and that's the E.J. Kronin Consultant. And what I call myself is an educational whisperer. Why? Because it's designed to help any parent, any student achieve their education goal. And what I do is I make sure that the student or the parent has the educational resources that they need to achieve their goals. So I'd like for everyone to visit. Our website is www.ejcroninconsultants.com, and once you get there, it'll take you to our online store. And I'm sure that if you don't find what you want in the display, just contact me and I will make sure that you are able to get your educational needs in terms of if you decide that you want your child to get into Harvard, I'm the person to help you do that, starting at an early age. Thank you so much.
Makakuvu Ali El Bey, and I want to say thank you very much, Miss Karen, and to Dr. Judith Kronin at the exhibit here at the Suffolk County Historical Society in Riverhead. And I hope you enjoyed the program. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you got some relevant information, and we will see you again. liwebtv.com, 110 channel internet television network. This has been our business forum with Dr. Judith Kronin at the Historical Society here in Suffolk and Riverhead. Thank you both.
Thank you.
So much.